Hello and a warm welcome. You're watching Business at 9 with me, Jude Sanath, and my colleague Shibani Garath right here in our studios in Mumbai. There's some action happening in West Asia, even as US President Donald Trump is all set to meet his Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Just ahead of that meeting, some tensions have been reported between the two leaders. Trump, remember, has revealed that there's been some tension with Netanyahu ahead of their meeting, complaining about reports that the Israeli leader plans to discuss intelligence on Iranian activities at Pickaxe Mountain, a potential nuclear site that the US president has threatened to repeatedly bomb. Sumita joins us for more details on this story.
Absolutely. In fact, this is a very crucial time because it's not just the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu who's going to be meeting with President Donald Trump, but the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is what we're given to understand from several reports. Is currently at the White House. And remember, both of them are there to sort of honor the memory of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. And in fact, Netanyahu is going to try and get the US president to expand the conflict, is what reports are suggesting, just as Washington has paused its strikes on Iran. And this is following weeks of escalated tensions and violence because President Donald Trump is looking at arriving at a deal. And so is Iran, reportedly, according to what reports are suggesting. In fact, the president also hinted at tensions with the Israeli premier and prime minister. And this is something that has earlier been brought up by US President J.D. Vance as well. This time around, President Trump said that the US was necessary for Israel's survival. In fact, the US and Israel's interest as far as the Middle East war is concerned, they have diverged in the recent month. In fact, when the war started, both of them were on the same page, but of late, it is more about the Israeli Prime Minister wanting to expand the conflict, but President Donald Trump is wanting to sort of wrap the conflict. Of course, let's also talk about the other aspect of this particular meeting, which is related to President Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting with President Donald Trump. He is hoping to reignite support for Ukraine. And of course, Patriot missiles, well, that is going to be a big focus of the talks, given that the fact that at the recent NATO summit in July itself, President Donald Trump promised Zelensky that US would grant Ukraine a license to build the much-needed Patriot missiles. Now, whether he is going to stick to his word about building Patriot missiles or how will that really help come about, that remains to be seen. But definitely, this is also going to be on the war between Ukraine and Russia. US has acted as a key mediator in this war as well. However, talks in the past have yielded little.
Now, Iran has confirmed talks with Oman and Saudi to decide the future administration of the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian foreign minister held telephonic conversation with Saudi and Omani counterparts. Iran said the calls emphasized the need to strengthen cooperation and advance joint diplomatic efforts to establish stability in the region and eliminate the insecurity imposed on the Strait of Hormuz caused by aggressive actions of the United States. Now, as per reports, Oman has presented a proposal to Iran for joint management of the Strait of Hormuz with voluntary fees that would ensure Tehran does not exercise sole control of the vital waterway.
Now to the US markets, where the Dow Jones has gained 0.8%, trading over 400 points higher, supported by strong corporate earnings. The Nasdaq, meanwhile, fell 0.9% as a sharp ship sell-off weighed on the semiconductor stock and the tech-heavy index. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 remained largely flat after slipping slightly at the opening of trade.
Right now, L&T has reported mixed set of numbers for the first quarter. Profit for the quarter jumped 14% to 4,123 crore, surpassing analyst expectation, even as margins came under pressure. However, order inflows rose 14% to cross 1.1 lakh crore.
So L&T has come out with its Q1 FY27 results, and the results are a mixed bag since the EBITDA have missed their estimates, but the profitability is a beat on what the street was estimating. Talking about the numbers, the revenue and profitability have grown by 7% and 14% on a yearly basis, but the EBITDA has slipped by 3%. Important to note that the EBITDA margins have also contracted by 90 bips on a yearly basis, so that is a big negative for the stock, and we believe that the stock could react negatively to the margin contraction and the slip in EBITDA as well. Talking about the revenue, which has has grown by around 7% on a yearly basis, which is way below the guidance of 10 to 12% for FY27. So now the entire burden shifts to the second half of FY27. Talking about the order inflows are a beat on the estimate, which have grown by 14%, coming in at 1,08,014 crore rupees, led by the ultra mega offshore wind and infra inflows doubling at 44,000 crore rupees. The core engineering and construction execution remained flat on a yearly basis, exactly as was feared by the street due to water and effluent treatment and the West Asia solar supply chain disruption as one of the key causes. Talking about the West Asia crisis, it remains unresolved and the management has not given any firm timeline and they do not see any revival in the near term. So these are the things that the management has said, talking about the revenue and order inflows for Q1 FY27. So all in all, a mixed bag from L&T, wherein the EBITDA was impacted and the margins have contracted, to which the stock could react negatively in trade.
Meanwhile, it was a weak June quarter for HUL. Revenue has been in line with street expectations at about 17,341 crore rupees, which is a 10% jump year-on-year. EBITDA, meanwhile, saw an 8.4% jump to 3,947 crore rupees, while PAT is 3% down at about 2,673 crore rupees. The management said it believed that FMCG demand will continue to remain stable and FY27 will be better than FY26. Listen in as the MD and CEO explains the rationale on why FY27 will be better for HUL.
So, in terms of inflation, it remains a volatile environment. And we are closely monitoring, both the geopolitical situation, the monsoon conditions in the country. And we believe that in September quarter, we will see sequential inflation. This could be depending on how inflation pans out, between 2 to 5% sequentially for September quarter over June quarter. And we will take calibrated price increases as we have been taking in June quarter. The same we will do in September quarter, but really leverage all the lines of our P&L. So it remains volatile. Given our portfolio, which spans across and spreads across both categories and the depth of our portfolio across price architecture, we believe that we are in a good position to ensure that we navigate this.
If you look at the consolidated EBITDA margin, which is what we report, it's actually 23%. And our EBITDA guidance is also on consolidated EBITDA margins, which is 22.5 to 23.5. And our margin reported for this quarter is 23%. So we are well within the guided range.
Now let's take a look at how the markets fared today. Nifty ended the day flat near 24,000 mark. Mid-caps traded in line with the small caps posting gains. FMCG and PSU banks came under pressure. IT emerged as the top sectoral gainer. TCS and Eternal were the top gainers in Nifty today. My colleague Harsh is here with more details.
Well, the Nifty traded in a very narrow band, right? It's just 95 odd points that we traded in today. We closed on the flat line, and that was largely what the indicators also suggested this morning. A very, very flat start, and we've closed also flat. So it's a sort of day which could where nothing much happened. But at the same time, the breadth was strong. 3:2 on the Nifty 50 index in favor of the advances is what we saw. Some of the top gainers, a TCS, a Tech Mahindra, among the IT stocks led the way. There was also some gains from Infi, Wipro, HCL Tech, all of which gained 1.5% plus. In fact, TCS was up 4.5%. The other one which really did well was an Eternal, also Nestle. So consumption to some extent outside of HUL, whose numbers were very, very weak. But outside of that, you saw some consumption names also showing some strength. At least Nestle and Eternal showed strength on the Nifty. But otherwise, the consumption index was soft in trade today. Broader markets, largely flat on the mid-cap index. The small-cap index slipped a wee bit, so there was some pressure there. But the IT index was the one that really stood out, 3.5% higher on the Nifty IT index. That was the one which was up and away. In fact, let me take you through some of the sectoral trends of the day. IT, Realty, Auto, those were the three top gainers in terms of sectors. Some very strong moves seen within those sectors as well. Defense was the key laggard, with BEL's numbers being the drag on the sector as well as the stock. In fact, you saw BEL lower as well, one of the top losers on the Nifty in trade today. Outside of that, there was FMCG, energy and metals, along with banks, which were some of the key drags in terms of sectors. Let's talk stocks. And within the Nifty 500 basket, Suzlon, which came out with numbers, weak set, margins at 15%, 10% lower. Gravita, 8.5% lower in trade today. Godfrey Phillips down 8%. And Varun Beverages down 7.5%. Earnings heavy, as you can see. From some of the from the way in which the stock reactions have come through. Coforge, on the other hand, 10% higher. What a strong move. Lodha Developers up 9.5%. Second straight day of solid gains for Lodha. You had Affle, City Union Bank, Kalyan Jewellers up 7.5%. So some very, very good strength in some of those names from within the Nifty 500 basket.
Meanwhile, Meta is facing fresh scrutiny after a series of controversies involving its AI and moderation systems. The company admitted that it mistakenly removed Prime Minister Modi's Facebook video addressing students on the NEET issue, prompting the government to summon senior Meta executives. The centre, meanwhile, seeks answers from Meta after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's post on strict action against the paper leaks was briefly removed. IT Secretary S. Krishnan called the incident extremely disturbing, saying that the technical glitch explanation is not acceptable and that Meta officials have been summoned. Let's listen in to what the Secretary had to say.
There are two parts to this question. The first part is that what was done was wrong. The authorized content from the authorized handle of the Prime Minister being removed is an extremely disturbing occurrence. It should have never happened. And I am happy that Meta realized that they had to apologize for this mistake. And their unconditional apology for the mistake is a good step. But having said that, I think the explanation that it was a technical ground and that there was a technical glitch in the kind of discovery program that they had, the algorithm that they had to find this kind of content, does not appear to be an acceptable explanation in its entirety. We have sought more details. We will have a very detailed technical meeting as to how these things happen, and we will seek assurances that the handles of prominent personalities in India should be ring-fenced, and once it's a verified account, it should be ensured that content that is posted there is not removed on such flimsy grounds or on such mistakes which happen. So I think it is very unfortunate that this happened, and we will follow this up to see that there are systemic corrections to ensure that such instances do not recur.
So are they summoned, Meta or...
We've asked for a meeting, yes.
Now, the Supreme Court has indicated that it may order an independent probe into allegations of police excesses during the CJP protest over the NEET paper leak. It has also sought responses from the centre and several states before deciding on the constitution of an independent committee or SIT. My colleague Harish brings us more details on this.
The Supreme Court hearing a batch of petitions, most importantly filed by the CJP protesters seeking action against police for excessive force, and another petition filed by the injured policemen seeking action, accountability against instigators and abettors. Today passed a very balanced order. The Supreme Court said prima facie there exists a case for a impartial, transparent probe and assured that a high-power committee will be set up. Before that, the Supreme Court has issued notice to the centre and Delhi government. Also, 5 other states, including UP, Maharashtra, Karnataka, West Bengal and Bihar, where violent protests also happened before setting up the high-powered committee. The Supreme Court very importantly said that the complaints from the Delhi police that 200 personnel of Delhi police were also injured will also be considered. This after the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that if that aspect is ignored, that will be really bad, will thoroughly demoralize the police force. As an interim order, the Supreme Court said that no coercive action shall be taken against the protesters. Nobody below the age of 18 shall be arrested. The personal data shall not be put in public domain. These are some of the orders passed. At the same time, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta drew the attention of the court that large number of antisocial elements and miscreants had infiltrated into the protest. Delhi police, remember Times Network had reported that Delhi police has identified 3,000 persons, a large number of persons who were accused in cases like murder, attempt to murder and rape. So Supreme Court has said that all these aspects will be considered before the high-powered committee will be constituted this coming Monday.
And reacting to the Supreme Court's interim order on the CJP protest, the Cockroach Janata Party has demanded that the government's assurance on withdrawing FIRs and protecting protesters from punitive action be implemented across the country. Now, the CJP argued that the court's order does not essentially prevent governments from withdrawing existing FIRs, citing Bihar and Assam, and has warned that nationwide protests would resume if the assurances given on the 25th of July are in fact not honoured.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to chair a high-level review meeting with secretaries to assess the progress and reform agenda of the key ministries, while also taking up recommendations prepared by secretary-level groups formed after the Iran-US conflict. My colleague Kuldeep joins in with more details on this.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a review meeting with secretaries today evening. That's what we have been hearing from our sources. Prime Minister will review progress and reform plans of key ministries. We must tell viewers here that the government constituted 7 secretary-level groups after the US-Iran conflict to develop a strategic response. These groups were constituted on 23rd March this year, shortly after the outbreak of the Iran-US conflict, to formulate a strategic response to its economic fallout. What we have also learned is that each group has examined specific areas such as energy security, supply chains, logistics, inflation, fertilizers, and overall economic resilience. And recently, they had given a presentation to Cabinet Secretary. Now, in today's meeting, their recommendations will be taken up for discussion.
Moving on, days of a stalemate have finally ended in Parliament. The Lok Sabha initiated debate today on the anti-paper leak bill. Both the government and the opposition participated in that debate on Public Examination Amendments Bill 2026 that aims to bring about stringent punishment and fast-track justice delivery on paper leak cases. Here are some of the excerpts of that debate from Parliament today.
This bill can be described in a way as a milestone legislation in the history of Indian Parliament.
इस सरकार ने रोजगार पैदा करने वाले सभी सेक्टर्स को लगातार कमजोर किया। एग्जामिनेशन सिस्टम खुद फेल हो गया है। पिछले दशक में 152 पेपर लीक हुए, 750 करोड़ छात्र प्रभावित हुए, मगर एक भी दोषी, एक भी माफिया को सजा नहीं।
लेकिन माननीय सदस्यों को कितनी बड़ी राहत मिली होगी, कितने बड़े संकट से बचाया उन्होंने। एक प्रधान जी को हटा करके प्रधानमंत्री बचा लिया आपने।
Now, RBI has released a statement that Delhi High Court has ordered that Paytm Payments Bank Limited would be wound up. Former CGM of State Bank of India, Giri Kumar M. Nair, has been appointed as the liquidator of PPBL. Kuldeep gets us more details on that as well.
Well, the Delhi High Court has ordered winding up of the Paytm Payments Bank Limited. The Reserve Bank of India has issued a statement highlighting that the Delhi HC has ordered winding up of the Paytm Payments Bank Limited. In fact, the High Court has also appointed Giri Kumar Nair, a former SBI CGM, as official liquidator of Paytm Payments Bank Limited, and official liquidator will exercise all powers under the rules of Banking Regulation Act. It also stated that official liquidator were appointed with effect from July 8th. In fact, on April 24th, RBI had cancelled the banking license issued to Paytm Payments Bank, and in early 2024, RBI had imposed restrictions on Paytm Payments Bank, which included barring it from collecting new deposits. Now, Delhi HC has ordered winding up of the Paytm Payments Bank Limited.
The general insurance sector, meanwhile, is pushing for greater pricing discipline and sustainable underwriting. Concerns remain over the deep discounting in property and fire insurance, with calls for stronger market discipline and balanced commission structures. My colleague Anurag caught up with United India Insurance CMD Rahul Bhupesh and Oriental Insurance CMD Sanjay Joshi to discuss their outlook on the general insurance sector and pricing discipline. Let's listen in to an excerpt of that conversation.
IRDA has, I think, intervened, and there is some advisory which has been recently issued. But then the important point is about how these exposures have been supported by the reinsurers. So we have to look into the reinsurance support of each and every different companies who are resorting into this type of means reducing the rates to very phenomenal, providing very huge discounts, because usually what happens that the other lines of business were getting a financial leveraging based on this fire business, but now it is happening other way around. That because in the other line of business, people are having comfortable position, so discounting is given in the fire portfolio. So this thing is happening, and I am very much hopeful that once the new accounting standard comes from next year, and then every cohort would be analyzed differently and all. So probably during those time, when the accountability and responsibility will be there for different types of cohorts. So I think the boards of various companies would definitely take a look at it, and that's how I think their future business plans will be affected.
Sir, do you think that there is a lack of level playing field when it comes to commission and distribution cost among PSU and private players, which need to be addressed, and some sort of expectations you have from upcoming distribution and commission reforms?
No, after the advent of this limiting the overall limit to 30% of expenses of management, of 30% of the overall premium, I think to a large extent the play field has been leveled, and now even every company has a discretion to calculate or pay the intermediary charges as it suits them. So many of the companies have been using it to strategize their marketing efforts.
But the regulator is again thinking about to change the single limit EOM also, so that may have some impact.
Yes. So when it was there was a limit to the commissions, actually there were a lot of malpractices which actually surfaced out also. Many very reputed companies also were found to be indulging in some shortcuts, and if that earlier thing can be avoided, then okay, there is a case that intermediary charges can be reduced. But I feel that the current system was working reasonably well, and the overall issue is actually the sustainability part. And if the companies can plan themselves and can behave responsibly and can always maintain their sustainability, then I think that some freedom can be given to them to decide the intermediary charges, provided it doesn't add to the burden on the policyholders.
Day 5 of the Commonwealth Games 2026 in Glasgow, and India's medal rush continues. Day 4 saw a strong showing in weightlifting after Mirabai Chanu's historic gold Muthupandi Raja and Rishikanta Singh and Neluri Ajaya Babu clinched silver medals in their respective categories. Sarvesh Kushare added another medal to his stellar run this year, winning silver in the high jump. But the biggest highlight was Sharmila Dhankar's gold in para shot put. India now have 10 medals, 2 gold, 5 silver and 3 bronze, with plenty more CWG action to come today.
And with that, it's a wrap right here in Business at 9 from Shibani and myself. It's good night. Thanks for watching, but we'll see you soon with more news and updates on the other side. But for the moment, it's goodbye from us.